Emma never expected her life to feel so empty. She had been married to Jack for 7 years, and from the outside, everything seemed perfect. Jack was a good man, steady, dependable, always there when she needed him. But inside, Emma felt something was missing. Their relationship had grown quiet and distant, the warmth and excitement replaced by routine and silence. They no longer shared stories or laughter. Their conversations were short, practical, often about chores or plans. At night, when they lay beside each other, there was a coldness Emma couldn't shake, like they were two strangers sharing a bed rather than partners sharing a life. Her days were filled with work as a graphic designer at a small agency. The job was demanding, but it didn't fulfill her. She found herself lost in her own thoughts during meetings, distracted and tired. Emma longed for connection, not just the superficial kind, but something real. Someone who would look at her and see the woman beneath the surface. She missed feeling alive, wanted, and appreciated for who she was, not just as a wife or a provider. One rainy afternoon, while sheltering from the storm at a coffee shop near her office, Emma noticed a man sitting alone with a book. Ryan, as she later learned, was a freelance writer who often came there to work. His smile was warm, his eyes kind, and when he caught her glance, he nodded politely. Emma felt a spark of curiosity. Over the next few weeks, they exchanged small-talk comments about the weather, favorite authors, and music. Their conversations started as casual but slowly became more personal. Ryan listened in a way few people had lately. He remembered details about her favorite books and asked questions that made her think. For Emma, these talks were a breath of fresh air. Ryan didn't ask for much. He simply gave her space to be herself. She found herself looking forward to their meetings at the coffee shop, even if it was only for a few minutes. Ryan's kindness stirred something inside her, a feeling she thought had died long ago. She started sending him messages between work, sharing thoughts and jokes, feeling a connection that went beyond friendship. Jack noticed the change. He saw the small smile that crossed her face when she checked her phone and the distant look in her eyes. When Emma tried to talk about it, Jack brushed it off, saying work was stressful for her and she needed to relax. He didn't ask questions, and Emma didn't volunteer answers. She felt torn between loyalty to Jack and the desire to feel alive again. One evening, Ryan invited Emma to an art gallery opening downtown. It was a quiet event featuring local painters, a scene Emma had never explored before. She hesitated, feeling guilty about going alone. But the thought of spending time with someone who made her feel seen was tempting. She told Jack she was meeting friends, and he wished her a good night without suspicion. At the gallery, Emma was surrounded by vibrant paintings and soft music. Ryan's company made the night special. They talked about the artwork, sharing opinions and dreams. And Emma felt the heavy weight of loneliness lift, replaced by a warm light. Standing beside Ryan, she felt a new hope, a possibility she hadn't allowed herself to consider. Yet, in the back of her mind, she knew this was dangerous. The risk of losing everything she had built was real. As the night ended and Emma stepped out into the cool air, rain began to fall softly. Her heart raced with excitement and fear. She walked slowly home, wondering if she was making a mistake or finally finding herself. The streets were quiet, the city lights blurred by the rain, and Emma whispered into the night, "What am I doing?" This moment marked a turning point for Emma. She had stepped into a world of emotions she hadn't visited in years. Hope, longing, and fear all mixed together. She was beginning to understand that sometimes the hardest risks were the ones that changed us most deeply. Emma was no longer just a wife fulfilling her role. She was a woman rediscovering her own heart. But the question lingered: how far was she willing to go? Would you like me to continue with part 2 in the same detailed style? Emma's nights became restless after that gallery visit. The spark she felt with Ryan refused to fade. Every message he sent felt like a lifeline, pulling her out of the dull routine of her marriage. She found herself craving his words, his attention, even the simple feeling of being truly heard. Jack, meanwhile, remained distant but kind, unaware of the growing divide between them. At work, Emma struggled to focus. Her thoughts wandered to Ryan's smile, his gentle laugh, the way he made her feel alive. She told herself it was harmless, just emotional support, a break from the loneliness she couldn't explain. But the truth was more complicated. She was opening a door she wasn't sure she wanted to open. One afternoon, Rian invited Emma to meet him for lunch at a small cafe downtown. She hesitated but said yes. They talked easily, sharing stories about their lives, their hopes, and disappointments. Ryan never pressured her. He listened. For Emma, this simple act of being seen felt like a balm for her restless heart. As days passed, Emma's feelings deepened. She knew what she was doing, risked everything, her marriage, her life as she knew it, but she felt powerless to stop herself. Ryan wasn't asking for more than friendship, but the emotions between them grew charged with something more. Every shared glance and quiet smile was filled with unspoken longing. Jack noticed the change in Emma's mood but didn't know how to reach her. Their conversations were polite but shallow. When Emma came home late one night after meeting Ryan, Jack asked gently if everything was okay. Emma lied, saying work was stressful and she needed some space. Jack didn't push further, but the worry in his eyes stayed with her. Emma felt trapped between two worlds. With Jack, there was comfort but also emptiness. With Ryan, there was excitement but uncertainty. She was caught in a storm of emotions, guilt, hope, fear, hate, and desire, all tangled together. One evening, Ryan suggested they attend a poetry reading at a local bookstore. Emma accepted, drawn by the chance to experience something new with someone who made her feel alive. The night was filled with soft voices and quiet applause. Emma and Ryan sat close, sharing whispered thoughts between poems. The connection between them deepened, and for a moment, Emma forgot about her worries. But the next day, reality returned with full force. Emma looked at Jack across the breakfast table and felt a pang of guilt. She loved him, but she was losing herself. The risk she had taken was no longer a secret, was a growing part of her life. Emma knew she had to make a choice. Could she face the truth of her feelings and the consequences that came with them? Or would she continue living a double life, hiding behind lies and stolen moments? As she stood by her bedroom window that night, watching the city lights flicker, Emma whispered to herself, "How much more can I lose?" The question lingered unanswered. As Emma's heart wrestled with the path ahead, Emma's secret weighed heavier with every passing day. The moments with Ryan, once a spark of hope and excitement, began to consume her thoughts. She knew she was walking a dangerous line, yet she couldn't stop herself. Every conversation, every smile from Ryan felt like a balm for her aching soul. But with Jack, the silence between them grew deeper, colder. Jack tried to bridge the distance, suggesting weekend trips or dinners out. But Emma declined, finding reasons to be busy or tired. She didn't want to hurt him, but the truth was, her heart was no longer fully with him. The risk she had taken had shifted something inside her, and now she felt lost in the consequences. One evening, Ryan invited Emma to a quiet dinner at a small bistro he loved. She hesitated, torn between guilt and desire. The restaurant was cozy, with soft lighting and gentle music playing in the background. Sitting across from Ryan, Emma felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. Their conversation flowed naturally, laughter filling the spaces between words. But beneath the surface, Emma wrestled with fear. She was crossing a line she could never uncross. Her mind flashed to Jack, the life they had built. The promises made, and she wondered if she was breaking something too precious to repair. After dinner, they walked through the city streets under a gentle drizzle. Ryan reached for her hand, a gesture of comfort and connection. Emma didn't pull away. Instead, she let herself feel the warmth, the momentary escape from her complicated reality. Back at home, Emma's guilt was overwhelming. Jack noticed that changed the way she seemed distant, distracted. One night he asked her if everything was okay. Emma looked at him, tears filling her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't lie. She told him she felt lost, confused, and that something inside her had changed. Jack listened quietly, pain and love mixing in his expression. They talked late into the night, sharing fears, regrets, and hopes. It was a fragile moment of honesty between two people who cared deeply but had drifted apart. Emma knew the risk she had taken was more than just emotional. It was a test of her heart, her marriage, and herself. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with questions she couldn't yet answer. As dawn broke, Emma made a silent promise to face her truth, no matter how painful. The risk she had taken had changed everything, but maybe, just maybe, it could also lead to something new. She whispered to herself, "I have to be brave enough to choose." Emma woke up to a quiet house that felt heavier than usual. The night's conversation with Jack lingered in her mind, stirring feelings she had tried to ignore. She realized the risk she took by opening her heart to Ryan was no longer something she could hide or control. It was time to face the consequences, whatever they might be. Jack was making coffee in the kitchen when Emma joined him. They exchanged a look full of unspoken emotions: sadness, love, fear, and hope, all mixed together. Emma felt the weight of years they had spent together, and despite everything, she still cared deeply for him. But she knew things could never be the same. In the days that followed, Emma struggled to find clarity. She spent hours alone, reflecting on what she truly wanted. Her feelings for Ryan had awakened something in her, but so had the memories and bonds she shared with Jack. It was a painful tug-of-war inside her heart. Jack, sensing her distance, suggested they see a counselor. Emma hesitated, but agreed. They needed help to understand what had happened and how to move forward together or apart. The sessions were difficult. They spoke about their fears, disappointments, and the loneliness that crept into their marriage. Slowly, the walls they had built started to crack. Meanwhile, Emma stayed in touch with Ryan, but their connection began to change. Without the secret thrill, the stolen moments lost their intensity. Emma realized that while Ryan had helped her rediscover parts of herself, her future wasn't with him. She owed it to herself and Jack to decide what she truly wanted. One afternoon, Emma sat in a quiet park watching children play and couples walk hand in hand. She thought about love, its beauty, and its fragility. She understood that love wasn't perfect, but it was worth fighting for when both hearts were willing. Emma returned home with a new sense of purpose. She sat down with Jack and shared her feelings honestly. They talked about forgiveness, trust, and the work needed to rebuild their relationship. It wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, they felt connected again. Weeks turned into months. Emma and Jack slowly found their way back to each other, stronger and more aware of their needs. The risk Emma took had shaken their world, but it also opened a path toward healing and growth. Emma knew scars would remain, reminders of the past. But she also knew that love, true love, could survive even the hardest tests if both people were willing to fight for it. As she looked at Jack one evening, she felt a quiet hope blooming inside her. The risk she took wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chance to rediscover love in a way she had never imagined. And in that moment, Emma whispered softly, "I'm ready to choose."